Hello and welcome to Right and Wrongs, the podcast from Hudgell Solicitors that brings you expert insight into today's most relevant legal topics. With us for this episode is Hayley Collinson, Deputy Head of our Medical Negligence team here at Hull. Hayley, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Today we're going to be discussing the failings in the breast surgery services at County Durham and Darlington NHS Foundation Trust. Those failings led to a large-scale look-back review of treatments that have been provided to patients over recent years. Hayley, you're currently representing numerous patients at Durham and Darlington in relation to this issue. What is the situation as it stands?
So we're representing a number of patients. It's a really concerning picture. It's a developing situation which is highlighting an erosion of patient trust within the NHS, sadly. There's an ever-increasing number of people that we're supporting as a number of patients have come forward. Since the Royal College of Surgeons report last year and then the further Aubrey review, both highlighting governance failures and systemic failures at the Trust. The Trust Board papers has also identified further figures which are concerning towards ourselves and patients. They revealed 1,472 surgical cases carried out between 2023 and early 2025 have been identified as part of this look-back review. As we understand it, of the first 315 that have been reviewed, 51 have identified as serious or moderate concerns, which is at the moment 1 in 6, which is a really concerning statistic as it stands.
You said serious or moderate concerns. In practical terms, what does that look like? What kind of things were going wrong?
So the reports demonstrate decades of failures along with a failure to be forthcoming with those patients that have been impacted until really recently. I think the scale and impact is still evolving, but we're seeing cases such as misdiagnosis, so failure to diagnose cancers, things being missed, unnecessary surgery, so women perhaps having unnecessary mastectomies or more invasive surgery than perhaps they required. Further to that, we're also seeing failures to offer reconstruction and perhaps offering the appropriate therapies such as chemotherapy. So it's a really concerning situation. These are life-changing errors, and we've only really probably scratched the surface of the full extent of this investigation.
We've only scratched the surface. Why do you feel that's the case?
We have experience of handling patient safety reviews at other hospital trusts, so we have an indication as to how these things evolve. And these other trusts, they also involve failures in governance and leadership, and they've gone on to lead to many cases of serious and moderate harm being identified. I think worryingly in this case, the numbers are potentially much larger than other hospital trusts investigations we've been part of. So, it may well also extend many years back than the current investigations that they're doing at present. I think we're talking likely into hundreds of cases though. There might be severe or moderate harm found. Based on our earlier discussion, that could be around 1 in 6 of those investigated.
1 in 6 is a pretty alarming ratio. These aren't the only concerns to have been raised about County Durham and Darlington Trust, though, are they?
No. We're now aware that as a result of the reviews and the board meeting minutes recently, that they're also considering a review into the radiology aspect and looking at the radiology department in general in regards to the details and for the full extent of that have not yet been made public. But what we do know already is that the practices that were carried out at Durham were not in line with other hospital trusts. Last year, the Royal College of Surgeons, they felt that there was a lot of pressures driving their decision-making rather than patient safety and clinical practice. So what they were doing was combining sort of mammograms and ultrasounds to expedite matters, which perhaps wasn't always in patient safety.
There have also been some issues around patients who were seen in private clinics What can you tell us about that?
Yeah, so there's, as part of the 2-week wait policy for patients who have suspected cancer, they were referring patients to 2 private clinics, and it appears to be that they were referring a high volume of women to those clinics, but not offering a long enough appointment, which impacts on patient safety and care. The 2 external private clinics were on a per patient basis. So some concerns have been raised as to that was their motivation for the high volume and the briefness of the appointments. There's also actually concerns about no auditing and monitoring those clinics. And again, obviously impacts on patient safety.
Big question. How has all this been able to happen?
Yeah, no, it's a good question. Well, according to the Royal College of Surgeons and the Aubrey Review, they've identified a decade of missed warnings, systemic governance failures, systemic failures within, red flags being ignored, failures in leadership. So this goes quite far back, both in time and throughout the trust. It transpired that concerns were raised year after year and sadly not acted upon.
So how are Hudgell Solicitors and you individually supporting our clients who've been affected by this? And what advice would you give to anyone who was worried about the treatment that they might have received?
Yeah, well, it's really concerning. And I imagine there's a number of patients who are questioning the care they provided. Some of that care might have dated back quite some time ago. Quite a few of our clients have had their meetings with the hospital trust. Some are still waiting them, and we understand that the process is really long and there's no real time frame involved in that. It's significantly slow. We would encourage anybody who's concerned about their treatment to contact the trust and see if they can be part of the investigation, but also to seek legal advice. If they don't have to wait the outcome of any investigation to do so. We do appreciate they're in a really difficult position, and they might want to sort of sit and wait and see what happens with the investigation. But given the extent of this and the duration, we would encourage people to come forward now. We've got experience in dealing with similar scandals at other hospital trusts and a highly experienced team. We can provide advice, and we can also offer guidance with the investigation, meetings and process.
Thank you very much, Hayley. That's incredibly useful. For more information about the developing situation at County Durham and Darlington NHS Foundation Trust, visit our website, hudgellsolicitors.co.uk. That's all for this edition of Righting Wrongs. Thank you for joining us, and we hope to see you next time.